was the top 10 games of 2017.
Top
I, however,
5.
want to run down a different list.
Oh,
My top movies of 2017. I'll be quick with these, but I just want to get some opinions around the room because starting off, we got Dunkirk. Dunkirk was the story about the retreat, surprisingly, from Dunkirk at the end of towards the end of World War I believe it was. And Tom Hardy. I'm sorry?
2.
1.
World War II.
Oh, biplanes.
yeah, I thought it was World War I as well.
Was it World War I?
Yeah.
Herb, tiebreaker. World War I.
I mean, Germans were still being fought, so,
Yes,
give or take.
I thought it was 2.
No. Wonder Woman took place in 2.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman was 1.
Wonder Woman was...
Wonder Woman was...
Wonder Woman
All right,
was World War I.
At some point,
Dunkirk was World War II.
Hitler slapboxed the Kaiser and Godzilla ate them both.
Well, this one had Churchill, right? Churchill's World War II.
Churchill's World War. Damn it! Look, you know what? I'm gonna look this up right
Let's
now.
look
But
it
I'm
up.
talking about Dunkirk with, of all people, Harry Styles in the movie. Harry Styles and Tom Hardy playing very different, unrelated characters. But still
directed by
Christopher Nolan.
Yep.
This was his big movie that he really like, his pet project. He really wanted to have the story presented to the people because he felt very close to it. And I was like, okay, you know what? Pet projects are usually kind of iffy. You're gonna get really deep into yourself, and you may even bore cast a little. I'm not gonna fault you. That's your prerogative and stuff. World War II. Johnny was right. I could have sworn World War I because I remember World War II movie, which was shown from very different perspectives. I love this. I love the way it was played out because it's not just, well, we're going into battle, we're great armies fighting and stuff. This is a story about retreat. Yep. They are leaving because they've been outgunned. They're being overtaken by the German forces, and they need to find ways to get back to away out of hostile land safely. And it's told from very interesting points of view because it's not just, well, we did a great job, soldiers. Now we got to get out. It's like, no, everyone's like, holy crap, we are effed. Let's blow. How are we going to get out of here? And it starts off with one soldier. His entire platoon is killed. How does he himself going to get the hell out of here? Tom Hardy is a pilot who, after pulling what is a heroic act, ends up kind of screwed. What's going to happen with him? How's he going to make it out? Cillian Murphy plays the guy who got out, and then his mode of transportation was taken away. How's he going to make it back? All the while, there are other characters being presented. It's not just one movie with a central protagonist. It's the story of several different people involved in this one major event, and it's done. It's told really well. Each of these stories is like really just emotionally just gut-wrenching.
It's essentially 3 different perspectives on 3 different timelines. That's like the bread and butter of this, is that it's showing...
I think 4, actually, because Cillian Murphy's is tied into another one.
I thought it was...
Well, Cillian Murphy was the officer going one way, and then he interacted with the civilians going the other way.
So it just got more complicated than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's all over the place, and you think, okay, this person found their path. Something like, it's just it got me to that degree where I'm just like, I went in thinking, it's going to be another boring war movie. Maybe a lot of people like it. I guess it'll just be really well acted and stuff. And I'm just like, no, this is oh, damn, they're hoes. This guy's hoes too. Them over there, screw them. That right there, that fool's dead. And the whole thing was just, it's one that really keeps you on your toes, and you think this is going to be the most boring, like, old school war movie, and everything invests you in all the characters, and they keep introducing new people and new elements, and great performance work from everybody, including one dude who's not even a singer, one dude who's like who's known right now as one of the best actors out there, and he hardly says like 3 lines, but everything came across so damn well. Dunkirk has to be seen. Also, next up on the list, and this one's just for you, my friend, Logan, the story of old decrepit Wolverine, and a broken down, crotchety Wolverine, old given up on life Wolverine.
And
I mentioned that because
a very senile
Professor X.
Professor X, yeah.
And I knew you'd care specifically about this one because you've modeled your style after Logan in this movie.
I got my mutton chops.
This man, extra furry these days.
Hey, Logan is very short.
That as
he
well.
Represents.
Yes. As well, yes. So if anyone's happy to see him being played by 6'9" Hugh Jackman,
Is he 6'?
No. Oh, Hugh Jackman's what, 6'1"?
He's not that tall.
He should be. He should be like
he's far
5'2"
taller than he
or
should
something like
be.
that,
Yeah,
right?
he's
Isn't
taller
Wolverine
than
like
he should.
5'2"?
Wolverine's 5'4".
5'4". Right?
Yep.
That's my height.
That's my height,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm almost positive.
All right, then,
I am the Wolverine.
Yeah.
Then hating Hugh Jackman because he beat him out on that audition. All right, no, it's the story though of Wolverine, which you finally get to see Wolverine being an actual character. He's not the Wolverine, the creature. He's not the wild animal, the beast that was found by Professor X and had to be tamed. And he's not this old guy perving on the young ass Jean Grey. Yeah, like he was.
or young ass everybody.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman is 6'2".
Okay.
All right, 6'2", playing 5'2". Deal with that. But his performance as Logan was gripping. It was powerful. He plays a man you honestly believe has not given up on life purely by obligation. He wants to. He's tired. He can't because he's sworn to protect his friend and his life. The life of another of his allies is pretty much in his hand all the time. So he's got to do things like get the crappy job to make a little more than minimum wage to keep them alive and on the run and supporting them. And the whole thing is beautifully presented in a more often than not depressing story than the action story I think we expected. It's the story of Old Man Logan, but an alternate take on it. And the Old Man Logan story from the comics we know of involves a lot of Marvel characters from Wolverine's lifetime, showing up. The Hulk. There's an incest story with he and She-Hulk create these evil kids that end up running amok. There's all types of death and introduction of old characters that we know and see horrible things. It's just very complex, and this was a completely different take, complex in its own, and also you got to see Wolverine cutting people because. The main complaint throughout the previous X-Men movies and the previous Wolverine starring, centric movies were that he's not killing folks. Wolverine's known as one of the most violent, bloody.
He's brutal.
Yes, indeed. Characters in the Marvel Universe. So this was a refreshing take in a really deep story, which was just beautiful. It's Logan. And then on a completely different note, Get Out.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Get Out was such a beautiful movie.
So good.
So good.
Yeah. Now, you guys saw Get Out?
Oh yeah.
It's probably the most tension-heavy movie I've seen in a very long time. Just tension. That was the movie incarnate. It was just tension.
It was
Absolutely.
pitch perfect. It was. I loved it because it was a pitch perfectly crafted film. Every single choice was deliberate and executed perfectly. Every single thing was so spot on. The acting was spot on. All the camera angles were spot on. The music,
music
everything.
was well done too. The soundtrack in this was very well chosen.
Yep.
And
I love the composer's choice of in the beginning of the movie, the overture of the film.
Oh yeah, what was it? Childish Gambino's.
Were they using the Swahili instead of build the tension? Because so many movies it's a trope. They use people singing in Latin or Italian or something, choral languages, to build tension. It's we don't know what they're saying, but it's in a language we don't understand, and it's ancient and it's ominous. And they used Swahili, and I just thought that was
This was choice, man, and
choice.
very surprising because it's the first film production by Jordan Peele.
Yep.
Who we've known up until this point as a comedian. And everyone was really worried about whether or not he could pull off this kind of story. It's anything but comedy, and it was actually a really good movie. It's a suspense and borderline horror movie with comedic elements.
Yep.
And I think it was done a great disservice because the awards were touting it as a comedy.
Yep, definitely wasn't. It did have the comedy that was in it was fantastic.
The comedy that was in it but it was clever comedy. It wasn't
a comedy though.
Yeah.
Genre wise, it was nowhere even close to being comedy.
These were lighter moments in a dark, suspenseful movie.
Yeah.
And as a veteran of several interracial relationships, it really it was true.
I've
was all
definitely,
true.
I've been there on the other side,
Uh-huh.
and
right there. Right there.
right up, and I was watching it. I was like, oh my god, I'm so
It's
sorry.
like, oh man, the flashbacks.
Oh god,
Oh god, why?
please stop, family, stop talking.
Like, that's why she was having me drink that tea. No, it's a great picture that was very. No one expected anything from this. Like I said, comedian as the writer producer, actors that you don't really see that often. I recall the father I had seen once before.
It's Bradley Whitford.
Yeah,
and Catherine Keener.
yes, and Bradley Whitford. I've only seen in. Did you ever watch The Mentalist?
Yep, he was also in the West Wing, and
Yeah, nobody watches those.
yeah, but everybody saw freaking what the heck's that Adam Sandler movie? Not
Adam
Happy
Sandler
Gilmore,
movie?
the other one.
Billy Madison.
Yes, he's the bad guy in Billy Madison. He's Eric.
Wait, wasn't that?
That's nah.
No, that was Shooter McGavin. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's Happy Gilmore.
That's Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I'm sorry. That's blasphemous mixing those two up.
I did. I don't.
And the main guy. I'm gonna look him up because he was an actor I didn't recognize, but I didn't realize I'd seen his face before.
He's British, right?
He is British. Yes,
Yeah.
I had seen him in an episode of Doctor Who.
Well.
One of my favorite episodes because it's one of the bottle episodes
Mm-hmm.
where it's just David Tennant. It's just the 10th Doctor off on his own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's between companions, and they had the single serving companions. And this was one of my favorites. Very simple cast, and the Doctor out in the middle of a desert.
Oh, you're right.
Yep, they're on a bus that gets stranded,
Yup.
literally 10 feet from salvation.
Yup.
But they cannot move that
Okay.
10 feet.
Yup.
And the whole thing takes place with them stranded on a bus and then in this
Yes.
desert nowhere. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a young, chubby black kid in there. Chubby black kid.
And he grew up to be.
He grew up to be the star of one of the biggest movies of 2017.
Oh, it was so good.
It was just a damn. His name is Daniel Kaluuya, and he played Chris. And it was just a great performance, especially when there's a scene in the movie where he's in a chair and he's immobilized, he can't move, and you just see like the tears well up in his face. And I'm just like, that is fantastic acting.
Mhm.
And obviously, he lost a lot of weight as well. Because
Yeah.
he was just this pudgy kid from this episode of Doctor Who, but it was beautiful. Next up on my list is one. I hope you guys go with me on this one. Stephen King's It.
Oh yeah.
I dug it.
Yep.
I
Stephen King's.
super dug it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone in this because
Yeah.
Herb was hating.
Nah, I loved it.
This was the 2017 remake of the first part of Stephen King's two-part miniseries from '92, I want to say.
90,
1990?
the 90 or 91. Yeah, because it takes place in like.
27 years ago.
Yeah.
27 years ago from
Yeah.
2017. Okay, yeah, so 1990 or 91. Good
Yeah.
call.
From way back when. Yep.
From way back
Way
in the
back
days, back when I remember when Pepperidge Farm used to sell it. No. It was just a great update of this classic story and presented well. They took out a lot of the cornier elements and a lot of the more suspect elements that really wouldn't have let them put this on the big screen. The the kid orgy scene.
Yep.
Just a lot of ridiculous elements from this original story, from the original book that were taken out, but still this version was more true to the book than the original 1991 version. I think that may have just been a sign of the times, but it was really well presented and a lot of great acting by kids, which is something you're seeing more and more. So it's not as much of a rarity as it used to be, but it's still damn impressive because these are young actors who are giving good performances.
Oh, is it Finn Wolfhard? Is that his name? He played Richie, but he was also the dude from the kid from Stranger
Wolfhard?
Things.
Oh, I
He's
know,
got like
I-
the
I-
ridiculous Viking
I
name.
know
There's some,
who you're talking about.
familiar
Little
faces.
Mikey from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
He was Richie.
Yeah, he was Richie.
He goes from being
Beep,
like the leader and the more level-headed one to
Yeah.
the outright perv.
The
in
mouth,
in
yeah.
Stephen King.
Yeah.
But Stephen King's It, great performance, great use of effects. We raved about it when we did our review, and there was a lot of mixed feelings because a lot of people are really tied to the original miniseries. Like that was the right way to do it. That was the proper way. Like that's a 30-year-old movie. No one's seeing that now. And this was
kind of corny.
very kind of
was-
meth being very nice.
Hey man,
Out of necessity.
I like corny.
Out of necessity.
Yeah.
But it was a very good adaptation, in my opinion. I loved the crap out of this movie. The acting was great. The effects were ridiculous.
Very stylistic, but the effects did bother me a little bit. Not that it was bad; it was just unnecessary. I felt in some elements
You did,
of it.
but
it
you
was
were
stylistic.
nitpicking stuff like, well, when I watch this and I slow down the frames, I can see a quick jump cut here, and I'm like, what are you?
My only complaint is
Yeah.
that in the miniseries, the 90s miniseries, and actually in the book too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of not seeing, which adds to the terror because there's the book very, very much draws from Stephen King's like Lovecraftian style of horror. It's very much like the thing underneath that devours you and you never see it, and it takes you in, and it plays on fear. And there's a little too much showing. That was my only complaint. There was a little too much. It like instead of grabbing what the heck's his name? Well, Georgie. Instead of just grabbing Georgie and having the blood show and having him disappear, you see like the first thing you see is the instant transformation from the clown to the monster. Yeah. And that was a little bit of a bummer because I wanted a tiny bit more of a build up for it.
I disagree with you there. I thought that part was awesome.
So many people dug it. And
I thought that part was awesome because it showed it's a movie that's not afraid to show little kids in peril.
Yep.
And to show children being harmed. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a proponent of that in any way.
Show kids hurt. Show kids.
But I'm just emphasizing that this is a movie where you think, I guess that kid's they're gonna go off screen and stuff. And it's like, it shows that it's not afraid to be extremely brutal. Yeah. And these kids are in real terror when you see them actually being hurt on camera.
Yeah, I mean that does make sense. Like the whole theme of the film is fear, and like it gives you the base of fear. But for me, not seeing the thing is more scary than seeing the thing.
But just prior to the nibbling, it was really good build up. Really good. The acting on that part, and just how Pennywise sort of how Pennywise behaved, and knowing because I already knew what Pennywise was because I saw the 1990 whatever thing. I knew what Pennywise was, and then seeing the acting there and how Pennywise was behaving. Mediocre
90s band, yes.
It fit in knowing what it was, and just it was fantastic acting right there. In that 20-second, 30-second segment.
I thought they really just cut the kid's arm off. Just okay, action, whack, go.
Good job, Billy. Have some ice cream.
I have sausages.
His mom was like, but you signed a contract, lady. All right, Stephen King's It I thought was phenomenal, and there were a couple of things I wanted to throw on here that I didn't because some of them are obvious, some of them are great. There's pictures with Meryl Streep. There's pictures by Guillermo del Toro. All these things could have been easy contenders, but my number one is something that no one saw, or at least no one expected anything from, and few saw, and was just such a surprise that I had to put it on the list, and I'm not afraid to put it at number one because if you see it, you'll understand why. You have no idea.
I have no idea.
I'm excited.
Happy Death Day.
Oh.
Happy Death Day was a movie that seemed a lot like, it's going to be a schlock horror film. So I guess they're releasing this thing for a crash gab around Halloween. It's going to be this kind of nothing fourth or fifth generation attempt at ripping off Scream. And instead it turned out to be a really cleverly written, freaking hilarious, and ultimately very satisfying pseudo-slasher movie. And I say pseudo-slasher because it has all the elements of a slasher movie, and you expect people are just going to die left and right and stuff. And it actually turned out to be a very entertaining story about one girl coming to grips with the fact that she's a horrible person. That being a serial killer driving her to that realization, and then her eventually taking steps to correct that about herself, all in a Groundhog Day-like scenario. And throughout the movie,
really?
Absolutely.
All right, that sells it for me. And
they acknowledge in the picture that this is a lot like Groundhog Day, isn't it? And then that's my favorite scene. That's a spoiler, but it's been months. They're like, this is just like that movie Groundhog Day. Could that be? And she's like, what? What's that? And I'm like, you've never seen one of the most famous Bill Murray movies ever. He's like, but I don't watch movies. What's for nerds? And you're like, I get it. I guess there is a horrible classification of person that may not have seen that movie, and you are one of them.
Nice.
But the whole thing, eventually they explain why she's going through reliving every day, and it's really interesting the way they work that in. And then also there's the killing. Freaking entertaining.
Hooray!
Left and right. Brutal. And what I love about this is, unlike Groundhog Day, they work this in as a story element. She retains damage throughout the days. So if she breaks her leg one day, she wakes up with the damage the next day, the bruising, all this stuff, and it's detrimented. So there is a time limit to all this because eventually her body's just going to break down into nothing. And it's awesome. because she has to use all these to her advantage. She has to find people that are related, and it becomes like a detective thing where she has to figure out, okay, I need to incorporate this person and tell them this, but not this, and then see if I can save. And she tries to save people. She tries to. It becomes kind of a chess game, which you didn't expect because, again, the movie's called Happy Death Day.
It's true. You don't really expect much out of that.
Absolutely not. And I walked in like, okay, let me watch this bullshit so I can do the review. And I walked out like, yo. So it was just such a damn good time, and I highly recommend it. And the thing is, nobody saw it before we did the review. After we did the review, I went and checked out other reviews online. It got nothing but raves on podcasts and newspapers, everything. And still, I know so many people have not seen it, even in this room. Johnny, you were there.
I know, I was there. I remember you praising it, and it's on my to-do list, but for you to put it at number 1 for all of last year, I gotta watch it.
It was such a surprise.
Is it streaming anywhere?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. If not, you can probably find it. I feel like it's probably playing at like the Somerville or Kendall because movies play there for like 8 months after they go out everywhere else.
Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. That super sounds like something that both of us would be into. It was
such a good movie, such a surprisingly good movie. And mind you, I'm putting this over Fast and Furious 8, which, as we all know, I would love to have at my top of every year list, but keep things in perspective.
Have a Fast and a Furious every year.
I'm glad you're able to restrain yourself just a little bit.
I'm not going to say it wasn't tough, but I thank you, sir. It was a struggle. But that's going to be it. We have gone over time, so I want to thank you all.